Viking warriors were known across the world for their ferocity in battle. They weren't just fierce fighters, they were tactical geniuses who knew how to use their strengths to overwhelm their enemies. Whether on land or at sea, Viking warriors struck fast and hard, catching their enemies off guard. Today, we'll explore the secret to their success on the battlefield, their brilliant fighting tactics. The Vikings' most effective tactic was their ability to execute swift raids, the art of attacking without warning, overwhelming an enemy with speed and precision. They didn't just fight battles, they dominated them, launching sudden and brutal attacks to take control before the enemy could react. Viking raids were often lightning fast. They would arrive at dawn, attacking unexpectedly with a ferocity that left no time for their enemies to prepare. Their swift movements, coordinated attacks, and fierce energy created an overwhelming force that struck terror into the hearts of their adversaries. Vikings excelled at creating confusion and chaos during battle. They would often divide their forces into smaller units, attacking from different directions. This created disarray, leaving their enemies vulnerable to surprise strikes from all sides. Another key element of Viking tactics was the use of combined forces. They used their warriors in close combat, while archers and spearmen attacked from a distance, breaking the enemy's lines and making it difficult for them to respond effectively. Through these tactics, Viking warriors didn't just fight, they overwhelmed their enemies with ruthless efficiency. Their mastery of swift raids, surprise attacks, and decisive battles made them some of the most feared warriors in history. The Vikings proved that victory wasn't just about strength, it was about strategy. Stay with us as we delve deeper into the tactics that made the Vikings not only warriors, but also military masterminds. When we think of legendary Viking leaders, Ragnar Lothbrok immediately comes to mind. His name has become synonymous with the Viking raids, and his tactical genius was key to many of their great victories. But what made Ragnar such a formidable leader on the battlefield? His ability to command his warriors and use his forces with precision made him a fearless force to be reckoned with. One of Ragnar's sons, Ivar the Boneless, was equally remarkable in battle. Known for his brilliant strategy and ruthless determination, Ivar's most famous battle was the Battle of Repton, where he commanded a strategic siege against the Anglo-Saxon forces. Despite his physical limitations, Ivar's tactical genius made him one of the greatest military minds in Viking history. In the Battle of York, Ivar's forces faced overwhelming odds, yet his ability to outmaneuver the enemy proved victorious. His army employed a variety of tactics, from ambushes to direct assaults, demonstrating how Viking warriors could adapt their strategies to the environment and the enemy they faced. One of the most iconic Viking battle tactics was the use of the shield wall. This formation involved warriors standing shoulder to shoulder, with their shields interlocked to form an impenetrable line. It was a powerful defensive tactic, creating a solid barrier against enemy arrows and spear thrusts, allowing Viking warriors to hold their ground in tight formations. While the shield wall was the backbone of Viking battle tactics, they also used a variety of other formations depending on the situation. In more open battles, they would use a wedge formation, designed to break through enemy lines with concentrated force at a single point. The goal was to split the enemy's defense, creating chaos and allowing for a decisive victory. Another key aspect of Viking warfare was their use of psychological warfare. Viking leaders like Ragnar and Ivar were not only brilliant tacticians, they also understood the power of surprise and terror. They would often use the environment to their advantage, launching sudden raids and striking at the enemy when they least expected it. This caught many foes off guard and led to decisive victories, The Battle of York exemplified this combination of bravery and strategic brilliance. While Viking warriors fought with unmatched courage, it was their leadership and ability to coordinate and adapt on the battlefield that set them apart. From Ivar's siege strategies to Ragnar's bold tactics, Viking warriors used their strategic minds and their unwavering loyalty to secure victory after victory. Viking leaders like Ragnar and Ivar didn't just rely on physical strength. They relied on strategic thinking, battle formations, and the will to win at all costs. These tactics allowed the Vikings to become one of the most successful and feared warrior cultures in history. Join us as we explore more about the Viking warrior spirit and their influence on history in the next chapter. But first, let's delve into the legacy left by these legendary leaders and their remarkable tactical minds. Viking warriors were not only known for their strength and strategy, they were also masters of psychological warfare. Before a battle even began, they would use their intimidating war cries, loud enough to shake their enemies to their core. This was not just noise, it was a carefully orchestrated method of psychological manipulation. The Vikings would form their shield wall, a powerful defensive formation, and then use their war cries to create an overwhelming sense of fear. The sound of hundreds of warriors shouting and banging their shields together was enough to rattle even the most battle-hardened soldiers. The goal? To psychologically break their enemies before the first sword was even drawn. The Vikings were also skilled in creating the illusion of overwhelming numbers. By strategically positioning their forces and making noise from multiple directions, they could make it appear as though they were far more numerous than they actually were. This deception played into the enemy's fears and helped Viking warriors gain the upper hand, even before the battle began. The Vikings' war cries weren't just for intimidation. They were designed to inspire courage in their own warriors. Hearing the battle cries, the Viking warriors would feel a surge of adrenaline, while their enemies, on the other hand, would begin to doubt themselves, their resolve slowly slipping away. But Viking warriors didn't just rely on their voices. The rugged landscape of Scandinavia, with its dense forests, rocky shores, and vast plains, was also a key component of their psychological warfare. Viking leaders knew how to use the environment to their advantage. In the thick forests of Scandinavia, Vikings used the natural cover of trees and rock formations to launch ambushes. They would attack swiftly, disappearing into the woods after striking, only to reappear at another point, keeping their enemies disoriented and terrified of the unknown. The Vikings' knowledge of the land made them formidable foes, as they could exploit the natural barriers to launch unexpected strikes. On the seas, Vikings used their longships, designed for speed and agility, to launch hit-and-run raids. The weather and rough seas of the North Atlantic were often on their side. Viking ships were built to withstand these conditions, making them unstoppable in harsh weather, which could disrupt the enemy's plans and cause confusion. The Vikings' ability to use the sea to their advantage was a game-changer. The fear of Viking raids, where enemies could never predict when or where the next attack would come from, made them formidable opponents. Whether on land or at sea, the Vikings' mastery of their environment allowed them to win battles not only through strength, but through tactical brilliance and psychological warfare. One of the most striking aspects of Viking warfare was that they often triumphed even when outnumbered by their enemies. How did they achieve this? The answer lies in their superior tactics, strategic use of surprise, and their ability to strike quickly and decisively. Vikings didn't rely solely on the size of their army. They used smaller, more agile forces that could execute lightning-fast raids and overpower larger, slower units. Their hit-and-run tactics were designed to exploit the enemy's weaknesses. By striking swiftly, Before the enemy could organize their defense, Vikings caused chaos and disruption. The psychological pressure alone was enough to break many armies, leaving them vulnerable to a quick and efficient Viking assault. This was a key reason why Vikings could win even against larger armies. Their ability to create disarray among their enemies, combined with their determination and battle readiness, meant they didn't have to rely on numbers. They could turn the tide of battle by simply using their intelligence and speed. As a result, the Vikings were able to expand their influence across vast stretches of land. They didn't just stop at raiding, they began to settle in the territories they conquered. They established Viking kingdoms across England, Ireland, Scotland, and even parts of France and Russia, laying the foundations of a powerful Viking empire. The Viking influence extended far beyond their homeland. The Danelaw in England, Viking settlements in Normandy, and their establishment of kingdoms in Iceland and Greenland were just the beginning of their expansive empire. Their strategic settlements and trade routes allowed them to control important areas of commerce and strengthen their hold on Europe. Vikings didn't just conquer, they built. They established thriving trade cities like Dublin, Jorvik, and Hedeby, which became crucial centers for the exchange of goods, ideas, and culture. The Vikings' success was due to their ability to not only fight, but also settle, creating lasting impacts on the regions they inhabited. Much of their success can be attributed to their legendary leaders. Ragnar Lothbrok, Ivar the Boneless, and Bjorn Ironside weren't just skilled warriors. They were brilliant strategists who knew how to use their resources, people, and environment to their advantage. Their leadership left a lasting legacy on Viking culture and military tactics. The legacy of the Vikings is felt to this day. Their ability to adapt, their mastery of tactics and strategy, and their influence on the development of medieval Europe have shaped history in ways that still resonate in modern society. From their settlements to their influence on trade, the Vikings were not just warriors, they were builders of an empire. In conclusion, the Viking warriors were much more than just fierce fighters. They were masters of battle tactics, psychological warfare, and strategic brilliance. From their swift raids and surprise attacks to their legendary shield wall and ability to outmaneuver larger forces, Viking warriors proved that victory was not just about strength, it was about intelligence, speed, and courage. Their fearlessness and leadership, from leaders like Ragnar Lothbrok to his sons and many others, helped cement their place in history as some of the greatest warriors of all time. The Vikings didn't just conquer lands, they conquered the hearts and minds of all who heard their story, leaving a legacy of strength and resilience. Whether through their brilliant battle tactics or their ability to adapt to any situation, Viking warriors proved time and again that they could face the greatest odds and come out victorious. It wasn't just about the physical battles, it was about the mindset that made them the legendary warriors they are remembered as today. From the battlefields of York to the shores of England, France, and Iceland, the Viking spirit lives on, not just in history, but in the values they left behind. Honor, bravery, and the unyielding will to defend and protect what they held dear. We hope this exploration into the life and battle tactics of the Vikings has inspired you to learn more about their rich history and culture. The Vikings may have lived over 1,000 years ago, but their legacy continues to shape the world today. Thank you for watching Norse Social Stories. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Viking history, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with others who are as passionate about Viking culture as you are. Join us in the next chapter as we continue to unveil the hidden stories of Viking culture and history. Don't miss out. Subscribe now and become part of the Viking legacy with us.